after JNU, the BBC documentary Row reaches Jamia. Jamia students have been detained by the police. Jamia gates were closed. Security was deployed after Jamia students claimed that they wanted to screen the BBC docu-series on Prime Minister Modi. This is a series by the BBC that goes by the name India, the Modi Question. Jamia University refused permission to screen the film. University issued notices to students as well. Will screen this movie in Presidency College, Kolkata, is what SFI has said. Actor Kabir Bedi is now joining us with his perspective on what we are seeing currently. Kabir Bedi, many thanks for speaking with NDTV. First of all, is it right, as an artist, what would you say, to block any movie or docu-series from being viewed?
I am opposed to bans or boycotts in principle, with two exceptions. I am for banning anything involving child pornography, and I'm for banning anything that involves the incitement of violence. Those are my only two exceptions, and I believe this documentary falls into the second category.
And that is the basis of your personal objection to this BBC docu-series being viewed in the country, is it?
No. You asked me whether it was right to ban it or not, and I said I'm opposed to bans in general, but in this case, I believe it should be banned. My objection to the BBC series is much more serious. I think it is an extremely biased piece of reporting, unbelievably biased for the BBC, according to me, who I had great respect for in many respects. But this documentary rakes up issues 20 years old, which have been settled in the Indian courts, in a way that's sensational, provocative, and generally creating an atmosphere of some great injustice having been done to the Muslim community. Now, Godhra had two major issues that happened. One was the burning of Hindus in the train, and the second was the Hindus hitting back and killing many Muslims. Both were terrible tragedies. All of us mourn those tragedies. But since then, it has become a matter of political football, with the Congress and other parties trying to pin the whole blame of Godhra on Prime Minister Modi, and naturally the BJP defending it. Not only BJP defending it, this Indian Supreme Court has clearly stated through two special investigative teams appointed during the Congress rule that have exonerated him of that charge. So this is a settled issue. Why this is being raked up by the BBC in such a cheap, sensational manner by interviewing the victims of the violence, etc., and by quoting the testimony of Jack Straw, who is the most discredited politician in Britain, having advocated going to war with Iraq because of weapons of mass destruction there, sending hundreds of young Britishers to their death, finding no weapons of mass destruction. This is a discredited witness who is a star witness. And so I find many things totally objectionable about this documentary.
So, Kabir Bedi, that is why I asked you that question. Then why not allow people to view that docu-series and make their own inference?
Well, as I said, anything that's likely to lead to violence, I don't think should be allowed. This is the kind of documentary where some Muslims sitting somewhere will feel great injustice has been done to him, even though the Indian courts have ruled otherwise, and would be motivated to do terrible things to avenge that sense of wrongdoing. This is the kind of thing that incites people to do things. And it is all very well to say freedom of speech, etc., but the fact of the matter is, in a country where communal relations have been fraught and always at a flashpoint, if incidents like this happen, we should protect people from that. And therefore I believe in banning documentaries like this. For instance, the Congress also banned Salman Rushdie's book. Saying, it offends the sensibilities of Muslims might affect how they feel. So these things that might create
but Kabir Bedi, a lot of people now in hindsight do believe that even that step was wrong, to ban a book in the country. Also, the students are drawing a distinction, Kabir Bedi, between blocking and banning. They are saying this is not banned in India, it's simply blocked, and therefore we are not legally wrong in watching it.
See, it's not a question of legally. It's not a question of legally. You know, this is, no, I understand the right of students to protest. I understand that many of these universities where these protests are taking place do not like Prime Minister Modi. They have a democratic right not to like him. They have a democratic right to oppose him. But to unite against him on an issue like this, on a documentary that's so clearly biased and so provocative, is the wrong step for them to take. And so, therefore,
Kabir Bedi, I'm assuming then that you have watched this docu-series?
Sorry, excuse me. Yes, tell me.
I'm assuming that you have watched this docu-series. If you're saying yes,
I have.
So that brings us to the point again, that if some people can view it and watch it, why assume that others, you know, their passions are going to be inflamed by watching it?
Well, you know, you keep coming back to this point. Let me just say, have you watched this documentary?
No, I haven't, since it's blocked.
Right. Well, in the very first 2 minutes of this documentary, they have these dire predictions of what's happening in India. India, Prime Minister Modi's rule is marked by religious turmoil, is what they say. So they're saying 8 years of religious turmoil in India. And this is disregarding the fact that there's not been one major Hindu-Muslim riot in the last 8 years. You know, this is false reporting. It's wrong reporting. Now, I'm not questioning that. I am questioning that, but I say beyond that, the testimony of victims of violence who suffered, who've lost loved ones, they're heartrending. But the fact is, they do not reflect the truth of the fact that Modi has been exonerated by the Supreme Court. 2 special investigative teams are set up, both during Congress rule, exonerated him. You know, for those who are agitated or feeling highly religious or feel their religion is wrong, the members of the community died, you don't know how these things react with people. Look at what happened to Salman Rushdie. Ultimately, somebody got him because somebody told him this chap has insulted Islam. So, you know, you have to be very careful with these things. It can stoke all kinds of problems between communities. It can incite people in the wrong way. This is a perfect candidate for banning, according to me.
All right. Kabir Bedi, many thanks for speaking with NDTV.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for giving me the time.